It was supposed to be a day of quiet celebration. In Tehran, families were setting out the traditional half-sin table, exchanging sweets, marking the Persian New Year as they have for centuries. But at dawn on March 20th, while the city was still half asleep, a single precision-guided strike found its target. Not a missile silo, not a nuclear facility. The man who died was Brigadier General Ali Mohammad Naini, the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps official spokesman and the one voice that had spent the last 2 years telling Iran's proxies exactly what to believe, when to strike, and why it mattered. That timing, on Nowruz, is the detail almost every report today buries. The coalition didn't just remove another commander. They silenced the software that kept Hezbollah, the Houthis, and Shiite militias across Iraq moving in something approaching lockstep. According to the IRGC's own statement, Naini was martyred in the criminal, cowardly terrorist attack by the American Zionist side. Israeli officials confirmed the strike and described Naini as the regime's chief propagandist who disseminated messaging to proxies across the Middle East to coordinate attacks against Israel. This happened inside Operation Epic Fury, the US-directed campaign that has already struck more than 7,800 Iranian targets since February 28th. Eliminated the previous supreme leader, and systematically removed senior IRGC and Basij figures. Parallel strikes hit other Tehran infrastructure the same night. Iran responded with missile and drone attacks on Gulf energy sites, including a Kuwait refinery, sending Brent crude spiking sharply. On the surface, it looks like another targeted killing in a long list. But the real shift is deeper. In proxy wars like this one, the man with the microphone can bind together a network more effectively than the man with the missile launcher. Naini wasn't reading press releases for domestic consumption. He was the bridge translating Tehran's intent into unified action from the Mediterranean to the Red Sea. Institute for the Study of War analysts have tracked how repeated leadership losses are now degrading Iran's information operations. The exact mechanism that allowed a weakened state to project power far beyond its borders. The turning point no one is saying out loud. The coalition concluded that hardware can be bombed, but the narrative that keeps distant proxies loyal and synchronized requires a different kind of precision. And they chose the one day when Naini would normally have been broadcasting messages to rally allies for the new year. That decision reveals something fundamental about how this war is actually being fought. In the rooms where these calls are made, the calculation was straightforward. President Trump and Prime Minister Netanyahu authorized the strike because they understood that Iran's remaining strength is not in its depleted missile inventory. Launches are already down sharply, but in the coordinated chaos its proxies still create. Remove the single voice that tells them the story, and the network begins to ask questions. By Thursday morning, the price of filling a tank in Birmingham or Boston had already moved. Not because of anything those drivers did, but because someone in a briefing room decided the man shaping the proxy narrative had to go. The uncomfortable admission here is that Iran's foreign minister is already insisting the political structure remains intact, and he may be right in the short term. But the data from 3 weeks of epic fury tells a different story. Thousands of sorties flown, command nodes hit repeatedly, and now the chief storyteller removed. This is what power looks like when the coalition stops hitting only the weapons and starts hitting the reason people are willing to use them. 3 paths now sit on the table. The least likely, but best case, quiet back-channel talks, perhaps through Oman or Qatar, produce a temporary pause before any UN Security Council emergency session forces everyone back to diplomacy. The most probable, status quo drift. Iran continues sporadic retaliation against Gulf infrastructure while the coalition keeps removing remaining command nodes. Slow, grinding, expensive for everyone. The dangerous path, the one Gulf capitals and European NATO members are watching most closely, is Iranian escalation to mining the Strait of Hormuz or wider proxy attacks on US bases. That red line turns an air campaign into something far broader. This pattern has played out before. After the 2020 Soleimani strike, outrage followed, then negotiated pauses, yet the proxy network never regained its old cohesion. The 1980s tanker war showed the same cycle. Shipping strikes, oil spikes, eventual de-escalation. History suggests the side that controls the story usually outlasts the side that controls the skies until the storyteller is gone. The coalition has now placed its bet that removing the voice matters more than removing another launcher. If the proxies start hearing different messages, or worse, no messages at all, the entire architecture of Iranian power beyond its borders could fracture in ways no bomb can repair. The one question the most powerful people in those briefing rooms still haven't answered is this: what happens when Tehran loses not just its leaders, but the story that kept its allies fighting as one? What do you think happens next? Drop it in the comments below.